spouting off about who's winning games and who's doing what. We're real. The rebellion is real. Providence Journal coverage is going to be real this year. It's almost here, 3 days away.
Oh, real quick, the Cato rule: the views and information opinions expressed on the Can We Keep Real podcast are the views of the individuals involved and don't represent the views of any third party or team. So we're getting back into Eric Rube's top 10 list. We're reacting to it. We're talking about it. Josh Lima, I said last week that Josh Lima was going to be named the head coach of LaSalle. William Cohen, who's a close friend of Josh, and missed a week ago, always following suit. It is kind of embarrassing, though, for somebody that works for the Providence Journal, as big as the Providence Journal is, for me to even be in the conversation, for me to even be on a similar level. And you went to school for this, man. You get paid for all this. And then you say I'm doing what?
Listen, no one's going to give you more coverage. No one's going to be at more games. No one's going to be more informed. I'm not just some guy sitting in his basement spouting off about who's winning games and who's doing what. We're real. The rebellion is real. Providence Journal coverage is going to be real this year. It's almost here, 3 days away.
You know what's crazy? Like, just for him to make that video, it basically says that he's intimidated. Oh, we're not him. We're not him. Why are you him? Why are you worried about him?
Listen, no one's going to give you more coverage. No one's going to be at more games. No one's going to be more informed. I'm not just some guy sitting in his basement spouting off about who's winning games and who's doing what. We're real. The rebellion is real. Providence Journal coverage is going to be real this year. It's almost here, 3 days away.
You know what's funny, the Providence Journal? That this guy even entertains this. And this is your lead guy. This is your guy. The guy that's that feels intimidated over a dude on a damn podcast. Some guy that's supposedly, what do you say, in his mother's basement. But I'll say, if that is my mother's basement, it's a pretty nice house. But yeah, that is kind of funny. But we're gonna get back into this. Josh Lima. Josh Lima is probably the only name on the list that makes sense. Besides one other one, Josh definitely being a LaSalle alumni. Is he the best X's and O's guy in Rhode Island? I mean, that's kind of questionable. What he's done at Cumberland is nothing short of remarkable. He'll be the first to tell you he didn't do it alone. Well, 97 kids for a school the town size of Cumberland. I mean, you're definitely bringing a lot of kids in through pathways, so. But Lima built a talented staff at Cumberland and took players from a soccer community and turned it into a perennial contender. Having Tampa Bay Buck offensive coach William Cohen, a friend of Lima since high school, in his cell phone contact list isn't enough to get him the job. It absolutely is enough to get him the job. Liam tells LaSalle, I'm going to make a nice contribution to you, but you got to give Josh the job. That conversation may have happened. Matter of fact, that conversation most probably happened. That conversation could have happened. That conversation did happen. Having somebody like Liam, it says it can't hurt connecting him to college coaches. He goes on to say Liam works at Cumberland High School and is loyal to the community. I like this one. Despite garbage social media attacks on him by a select few who don't have a clue. Would it be enough to have Lima looking for a change of scenery? LaSalle would be silly not to find out. So, loyal to the community despite garbage social media attacks on him by a select few who don't have a clue. Well, I mean, if you're talking about me, if you're talking about I attacked him when he was brought up on a very serious investigation and the school spent $80,000 to investigate Josh Lima, it must have been serious enough that the school spent that type of money. I mean, hypothetically, let's say Lima didn't set the play up, but maybe didn't really know it was going to happen, but knew it was going to happen. And it's no secret that Lima and the student's father have been going back and forth. The same student who his father had T-shirts made. So yeah, so the player's dad, the one that was assaulted, had his dad had T-shirts made, and let me see. Here they are. Too comical. All right, let's see. Here we go. Can't make this shit up. Cumberland Clippers fans have had it with Josh Lima, Cumberland, Rhode Island. 2 playoff wins in 9 years. Now, this was before Lima came up to Division II. And, so this was basically before that. 2 playoff wins in 9 years. He was 41 and 45 career as a head coach. Damn, that's below 500. 100 players and no freshman team. Lima could not handle the pressure of D1, so she slid his tail and went to D2, where he says we get no respect. And this man's the head of this was when he was the head of the Coaches Association. Shirts going on sale. How many you want? See hashtag Dave Cato. You're not the only shitty coach, allegedly. Rhode Island Interscholastically. This is yours. Association president recalled Josh Lima. So this was the same guy that had these T-shirts made, and you can see on the T-shirts, 9 season, only 2 playoff wins, losing record. And this is what he talks about, garbage social media, talking about Josh Lima. And this is what I talked about. I talked about the investigation, Josh being found guilty on I think 3 different policies, leaving the kids alone in the locker room, leaving a kid alone, letting the kid go to the emergency room by himself with no supervision. Imagine you drop your kid off this is something like, this is how, I don't even think Alejandro would do this. You drop your kid off at school, at football, the kid gets hurt for whatever reason, busted eye socket, did a number on him. He gets hurt, he gets transported by emergency room to the hospital. And coach, is anybody going with him? Nah, he's all set. I mean, nobody even went with the kid. And then you wonder why. And this is your guy, Eric the Rebellion. Embarrassing, you would even It's crazy that he even has to do that. Like, you work for like a gigantic machine. You work for a machine. There's a man that play. Imagine, like, this man plays Karen with his kids. Like, you play Karen with his kids. He tweeted that. I swear to God. He said, just because I'm playing Karen with the kids. I'm like, huh? You play Karen with the kids?
Listen, no one's going to give you more coverage. No one's going to be at more games. No one's going to be more informed. I'm not just some guy sitting in his basement spouting off about who's winning games and who's doing what. We're real. The rebellion is real. Providence Journal coverage is going to be real this year. It's almost here, 3 days away.
He wants to be my son so bad, he calls it the rebellion. But that even backfired on him. He got egg all over his face for that. You know? Like Jimmy Cook says,
this is not Clown Town anymore.
This is not Clown Town anymore.
This is not Clown Town anymore.
You heard him. It's not Clown Town anymore.
Time I pull the plug. The game is over. The game is over. It's time I pull the plug.
It's time I pull the plug. Like, this guy's embarrassing. Like, going back and forth with a dude, doing it from his mother's basement and still breaking all the stories, right? And you're what? A week late, $1 short. You went to school for this. You get paid for this. This guy don't care about the culture. And won't punish kids who exceed their weekly allowance. A recent global music survey by the Limelight Network found that I spend just as much on this as probably his paycheck. But anyway, back to Josh Lima. This is retired Lieutenant Colonel Jason Dean, Special Forces. Right now, this is the man that came up with the great design of the t-shirt. This is also the man of the father whose kid led to an $80,000 investigation at Cumberland, which yours truly broke that story as well. So let's hear what Mr. Dean had to say. And another thing, you know what Mr. Dean also did? Mr. Dean knew there was an election coming. So Mr. Dean went out and got all the signatures to get on the ballot for a school committee. And Mr. Dean won by a landslide. And Mr. Dean is now on Josh Lima's bumper.
Hello, I'm Jason Dean, 150 Staples Road. Last week, you guys voted on the investigation that had concluded after 6 months.
That I wasn't there. You waited till I went out of the country.
I was in Iceland. I was disappointed I wasn't here for that. I informed the committee I'd be in Iceland, but after 6 months, we were.
They said, yo, dude's in Iceland. Bring that paperwork out. This guy's a retired Lieutenant Colonel, Special Forces. This guy makes movies.
Apparently, all of a sudden, in a rush. Some things were said. There was, I guess, 195 pages of exhibits. Most of that was emails. So I went through it. Most of them were my emails. I gave the investigator
195 exhibits.
Oh, by the way, I am the guy who made the complaint. I didn't make 11.
I am the guy. Yeah, there was 11 complaints, but he'll get to that.
11 complaints. As a matter of fact, I requested that 2 of the complaints be pulled off of the investigation because they were admitted right in front of the school committee and the superintendent. It appeared the superintendent was given accolades for handling it correctly. I made the complaint a year ago. Tomorrow was the first complaint.
And then the school committee always says, people, you need to bring this stuff forward. You need to be patient. A year. And $80,000. Don't forget, Cumberland School department spent $80,000 on this.
about special needs inclusion. The athletic director, the principal, the coach were completely oblivious that it even existed, and the policy was passed 2 years previously, and that was admitted in the investigation. Two of the things that were upheld, I requested in an email to be removed. So I don't know why they were put in the investigation. I didn't request the investigation. I requested an investigation into my son being mistreated because of his disability.
See, his son was mistreated by Josh Lima because of his disability.
Again, they didn't even know there was a special needs inclusion policy in sports. 7 times before the investigation was approved. The superintendent, again, requested the investigation. Cost $80,000. I did not make 11 requests. Those came.
$80,000. See, I ain't capping.
Cost $80,000. I did not make 11 requests. Those came up as the investigation proceeded. So what I want to say is Jason John Dean with an H on social media. I gave a thumb drive with recorded conversations. I recorded most of the meetings, most of the phone calls. Any media personnel who would like that entire file, it will include everything I gave to the investigator, and then new conversations since then, new emails, an offer request that shows that although I was promised an investigation would be done 6 months before it was asked for, there was no investigation. So the offer request will show. So that is Dr. Thornton's Cumberland. If you have a complaint, it takes 1 year and $80,000. Not many parents are going to stick with that.
1 year, $80,000. He's right. How many parents are going to stick with that?
That's it. I have 21 seconds left.
No, they timed you. He knew it. You know, he was on point. Retired Lieutenant Colonel. I mean, you know, so he started the investigation into Lima, and we only kind of got off track because of the whole, you know, what Eric was spewing out the side of his mouth. All right, let's get back to where we were. So Josh Lima, I mean, he's probably one of the, you know, and Liam is absolutely strong enough to get him into that job. Like, come on, he's the Tampa Bay offensive coordinator. His father was coach on the team. He's a